You've finally stopped chasing, stopped overanalyzing their mixed signals, stopped making excuses for their hot and cold behavior, and just like that, everything changes. Not for you. You've already changed, but for them. When an avoidant realizes your self-respect is stronger than their ego, 6 very specific things happen, and once you understand these patterns, you'll never look at these dynamics the same way again. Picture this. After weeks, maybe months of distance, of breadcrumbs, of "I need space," they suddenly reappear. Not with grand gestures, but with calculated touches. A text that seems casual but lands at 11 p.m. A like on your post from 3 days ago. A "How have you been?" that feels both innocent and strategically timed. Here's what's actually happening beneath the surface. Avoidants are comfortable with distance when they believe you're still emotionally tethered to them, still holding space, still keeping that door cracked open just enough. Your self-respect broke that invisible cord, and the moment they sense you've genuinely moved on, not pretended to move on with carefully curated social media posts, not talked about moving on to mutual friends, but actually detached at a cellular level, their nervous system sounds the alarm. This isn't love resurfacing from the depths of their heart. This isn't them suddenly realizing what they had. It's their ego doing inventory, taking stock of their options, making sure you're still available in their back pocket. They're testing if you're still orbiting their world, still willing to accept the bare minimum, still waiting in the wings for them to finally be ready. But here's the beautiful twist that changes everything. Your self-respect doesn't engage with tests. It doesn't perform. It doesn't need to prove you've moved on or demonstrate your worth. It simply exists, unbothered, unmoved, unshakable. And that silence, that absence of reaction, that refusal to dance to their tune one more time, that's the loudest response they've ever heard, and it echoes in ways their ego can't ignore. Then watch closely as they start rewriting history, because avoidants operate on a carefully constructed narrative where they're always the victim of too much pressure, too many expectations, too much intensity from partners who just couldn't understand their need for independence. But when your self-respect stands firm and refuses to participate in their story, their narrative starts crumbling like a house of cards in the wind. They can't paint you as needy when you're no longer asking for anything, not even basic respect or consistency. They can't frame you as controlling when you've released all control and all investment in their choices. They can't cast you as overly dramatic when you're responding with calm, clear boundaries that don't require explanation or justification. So they scramble to make sense of this new reality, where you don't fit into any of their comfortable boxes. Maybe they'll tell mutual friends they just needed time to figure things out, and you didn't give them that space. Maybe they'll hint to anyone who'll listen that you gave up too easily instead of fighting for the relationship. Maybe they'll suggest the timing was wrong, the circumstances too complicated, the stars misaligned. They'll find creative ways to position themselves as the one who would have come around if only you'd been more patient, more understanding, more willing to wait indefinitely. But your self-respect doesn't need their story to make sense, or their version of events to validate your experience. It knows the truth isn't found in their carefully crafted explanations designed to protect their image. It's found in their actions, in the patterns that repeated themselves over and over. And those actions have been speaking clearly all along, telling you exactly who they were capable of being, which was never quite enough for what you deserved. This is where it gets tricky and tests your resolve in unexpected ways. Suddenly, they open up in ways they never did before. After months of emotional unavailability, of surface-level conversations, of keeping you at arm's length, they're finally sharing their fears, their childhood wounds, their past relationships that damaged them, their struggles with intimacy and vulnerability. They're finally giving you what you once craved desperately: emotional honesty, a glimpse beneath the armor, a sense that you matter enough for them to let you in. But timing is everything in life, and especially in matters of the heart. This vulnerability isn't showing up because they've done the deep inner work required to actually change their attachment patterns. It's not appearing because they've been in therapy processing their trauma and learning healthier relationship skills. It's showing up because your self-respect called their bluff and they're panicking at the loss of control. It's strategic, not genuine transformation. It's a calculated bid to re-engage you emotionally, to pull you back into the familiar cycle, to prove to themselves they can still affect you, still make you feel something, still draw you back in. Real vulnerability is consistent, showing up on random Tuesdays and during conflicts, not just during grand gestures designed to win you back. Real growth shows up in changed behavior patterns sustained over time, not just changed words that sound profound but lack follow-through. Your self-respect knows the difference between someone genuinely healing and doing the uncomfortable work versus someone performing healing to regain control of the narrative and your attention. And here's the reality that cuts through all the noise. If they were truly capable of this level of openness and emotional availability before, they would have shown it when you were actually there, investing your time and energy, trying to build something real, choosing them day after day even when it was hard. Paid attention to this next pattern because it reveals everything about ego versus genuine growth. When avoidants realize your self-respect is immovable and you're not coming back to play your old role, they often respond with what looks like sudden self-improvement that seems to come out of nowhere. New hobbies they're passionate about. New professional achievements they're posting about. A new fitness routine with transformation photos. A new look that's more polished, more intentional. Posts about leveling up and becoming their best self, and focusing on personal growth that flood your feed if you're still connected on social media. On the surface, it looks like genuine transformation, like they're finally becoming the person you always knew they could be. But look deeper beneath the performance. This isn't about genuine transformation or sustainable change. It's about ego preservation and image management. They need to prove to you, to themselves, to their entire audience of followers and friends, that they're fine, unaffected, even better off. Better than fine, actually. They're thriving without you. The subtext is crystal clear even when unspoken. See, you didn't break me. You didn't matter that much. I'm doing amazing things, and you're missing out. It's a carefully constructed highlight reel, designed to make you question your decision to walk away. But your self-respect sees through performance because it understands human nature and ego defense mechanisms. It understands that real change is quiet, internal, sustained over time, and doesn't need an audience to validate it. It's not impressed by the highlight reel that shows only the curated moments. It's interested in the behind-the-scenes consistency, the daily choices, the unglamorous work of actual personal development. And while they're busy proving they're unaffected and putting on a show for whoever's watching, your self-respect is already building something real, something sustainable, something that doesn't require validation from the people who couldn't value you when you were right there. Here's where the ego really shows its hand in the most predictable way possible. Nothing threatens an avoidance ego quite like the genuine possibility that you've truly moved on emotionally and are no longer available as an option. So they do something incredibly predictable that plays out the same way every time. They pursue someone new, quickly, before the dust even settles. Publicly, making sure you'll somehow find out about it. It's not about genuine connection or being ready for a new relationship. It's about control of the narrative and managing how the situation looks to outsiders. It's about showing you and everyone else that they're desirable, they're wanted, they're not the problem in the equation. You two were just incompatible, just not right for each other, just bad timing. It's a statement broadcast to the world. I'm fine, I've moved on. You should too. Look how easy this is for me. The new person becomes a prop in their ego's production, often someone who represents everything you weren't or provides what they claim you couldn't give them. But your self-respect isn't competing in a race you never entered and never agreed to run. It knows that replacement isn't the same as healing, that filling a void isn't the same as addressing why the void exists in the first place. Speed isn't the same as readiness. A new face doesn't erase old patterns that run deeper than any individual relationship. The truth that your self-respect recognizes is this: if they couldn't show up for you with presence and consistency, they won't show up for someone else either. Not until they do the uncomfortable inner work they're currently avoiding by jumping into something new. And that rebound relationship? It's often just another person who'll eventually discover what you already know, who'll face the same hot and cold patterns, the same emotional unavailability, dressed up in different circumstances. Your self-respect wishes them both well from a distance and keeps walking forward without looking back, because it knows your worth isn't determined by how quickly they replaced you. This is the final stage, and it doesn't always happen immediately. Sometimes it takes weeks, sometimes months, sometimes even years before the fog clears. Something finally clicks in their awareness. They finally recognize what they lost, and it hits them in quiet moments when they least expect it. Not the romanticized version of you they created in hindsight, polished and perfected by distance and nostalgia. Not the idea of you that their ego constructed to make sense of the ending, but the actual person who showed up consistently, who tried when it was hard, who chose them repeatedly even when their behavior didn't deserve it, who loved them through their walls until choosing yourself became the only option left for survival.